Welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in Lombard, Illinois. Again, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, Darren, I hope it is just right. And with me, as always, the fantastic man himself who knows all the great things in sports. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome once again to the show, Mr. Drew Gwillem. Drew, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm here.
Yes, you are.
And I'm ready to talk about sports and stuff.
What's the and stuff? I gotta ask.
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
You know,
I mean,
we might start on our cooking show right away. You never know.
we could. I mean,
I'm hungry.
It's
It's like the usual thing. It's like hot, tired, and hungry. You know, it's hot outside, like our show we have planned.
That is true.
Hot.
Yes.
It's hot.
Very good. Absolutely. And we do have a hot one for you here, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of things to get through. We're going to be a very NBA-filled talk. So, Drew, are you ready to do this, my friend?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Then we are kicking this one off with some big breaking news, although be it some news we were kind of expecting. It is the NBA free agency period kind of starting a little bit, not too much, but it's relatively kind of going towards that with the first up being Bradley Beal. It says he's out. He is no longer going to be with the Washington Wizards. As of this point, he is declining his option of $36 million to stay with the team. So obviously, Bradley Beal.
I wish I had that option.
Right.
I'm good. $36 million?
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be.
We'll just go for the higher offer.
Must be really nice to be able to have that opportunity. So Bradley Beal deciding it's not enough. Could obviously re-sign with the Washington Wizards. There's a lot in place here. But this now means he is an unrestricted free agent. So, Drew, obviously we kind of talked a little bit about this with the Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine kind of matchup. But for your own sake, what are your thoughts about, I mean, you've already kind of said, nice for him to be able to opt out. But what do you think about Bradley Beal opting out? Do you think this is a good move? Do you think he'll go back with the Wizards? Is there another team? What are your thoughts?
I think he's been around with them for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's proven he can be a nice piece to a winning team. I don't see why he would want to go back there and deal with the same thing he's been dealing with.
Right.
You know, I would assume he wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
He could be a very nice piece now opting out and being a free agent. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to go elsewhere and find a team that has a chance to win. And he could be a very, like I said, very nice piece to add to a contending team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I hold strong with Bradley Beal a lot, mostly because it's mostly due to the fact that obviously his loyalty has always been to Washington, and I want to believe that his time in Washington was not poorly spent.
Right.
He's a great player by his own account. I would put him, I would say, in like that top 30 range of players in the league for sure. He's shown he has that great eye for the basket. He's a clutch scorer. The problem has always been that the team around him has never been that great. So I agree. I think this is his chance now to explore your options, get out. I mean, look, Washington. In hindsight of what they did in the draft, I mean, Davis was not exactly a great grab for them, I will have to say. I don't think it moves the needle too much for them. I think he sees his team as very young, and Porzingis is not exactly a good number 2. And I think he sees what happened with Luka in that situation. So I think this is the great chance for him to kind of get out. Now, where he goes, again, there's multiple teams. I don't think he's going to the Lakers. Not only do I see that not being somewhere he wants to go, I don't know how feasibly it's going to work in their favor, considering how much money they would have to pay him. I think he's looking for something upwards of like $240 million, I think is what I saw, something like that in his deal.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot. And I'm sorry, who just opted into a $47 million deal for Russell Westbrook? Which
yeah. That's insane.
We did the math on that actually before you even got here. We were all sitting around. What is it we came out with? He was doing last year. He made $44 million. He scored 1,441 points. TJ, what was the number we said per point? I think it was. He averaged 18 and a half points a game for those in 78 games.
Wow.
So,
that's
which is nuts.
That's stupid money.
Exactly. So I don't know how he goes to that team. The Miami Heat thing I've heard, obviously everybody's going to the Heat, it always sounds like. I know they got very far. Again, I don't know how that situation plays out. Do they really need him? I mean, is Tyler Hero on his way out? Who knows at this point? It feels like they really need more of a true point guard than they need Bradley Beal. But, I mean, listen, if you were telling me right now the Bulls could potentially sign him or Zach LaVine, it's a tough shot, but I think between the two of them, I mean, we discussed this. They're probably the same player. I went with Beal, I think, just because of the fact that there's a little bit more veteran mindset, I think, to him. There's that leadership quality that I think is there, too, for him. And he can kind of carry the point guard while Lonzo's out a little bit. But where he goes at this point, I think it would probably be, I feel like Dallas might be a situation he would probably want to go to, him and Luka, with Spencer Dinwiddie. I think would be a pretty...
Especially if Brunson leaves.
Yeah, if Brunson's going to be leaving, which it seems like... Well, first the Knicks are saying they're going to offer him way too much money, I think, at this point. Now he's meeting with the Heat, so the Knicks might be out on their guy, interestingly enough. But, I mean, I don't think the Knicks are going to try and get him. I don't think there's any appeal for him to go to Brooklyn, even if there is Kyrie going back, which we will talk about that tomorrow. That's for a tomorrow conversation. But I just feel like they're the other options that are out there. Memphis, I think, would be a really good one. If Memphis was willing to spend the money, they may have to move some things around. But I think he wants to win now. I think he's looking for the win now situation. So I'm in kind of that boat with Bradley Beal. But outside of Bradley Beal, one of our favorites, one of our fun guys, also opted out of his contract, or opted out of his player option. Now, Mr. James Harden decided to opt out of his $47.4 million player option. Because that's just not enough for James. Or, I don't know, maybe he doesn't like his feel with the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know, but certainly something that was being talked about. So, Drew, for you, what about James Harden? I mean, is this the best move for him to make? Is there another team out there that he might want to go to? Does he go back to Brooklyn? What do you think?
Again, must be nice.
Yes.
Must be nice.
Must be very nice.
But I thought this was terrible mistake for him. I don't see any chance, any chance there be a team out there that will pay him $47 million for one season of basketball. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'll come close to that.
Okay.
That contract was based on the old James Harden.
Right.
He's not that. We haven't seen that guy in a while.
No.
So
not in a long time.
I can't imagine why Philly or any other team would pay him more than that for one season. Yeah, he may get a longer contract, but it's going to be a lot less yearly.
Right.
Or even so, at any point, how contracts tend to go up as the contract goes along. Mm-hmm. It's not going to, I don't see at the end point even coming close to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think he made a huge flub on this. I mean, listen, unless he's looking at this saying the money at this point, I mean, look, he's made a lot of money in his career.
Yes.
He's already made a lot. So, again, like you said, must be nice to be able to reject that much. So I think for him, maybe it is possible that I guess the money could not count in this. He is possibly shopping himself around to say, I got to get a ring. I mean, look, I think the guy's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's arguably one of the best scoring guards we've seen maybe in the history of the NBA. The guy has an incredible ability to find the basket. He's not that same player. I think he realizes that. I think he realizes that he's not going to be the biggest difference maker on a team anymore. So now it's about where do you fit best, right? He clearly has great ability to pass the ball. So maybe a point guard situation. Maybe Miami might be a good spot for him. I feel like that would actually maybe be the spot for him where it's like, look, you don't have to really be relied upon, right? You have Jimmy Butler. You have, I think they still have Kyle Lowry, so you've got a good, decent backup or something like that at that position. All you have to do is be the guy that starts the action and passes the ball. So I think for James Harden, I agree. Money-wise, it's a dumb idea. But the other thing, like you said, too, is who's going to pick him up at this point? You know what James Harden is. You know that he can be a disruptor. He's going to come in out of shape if he doesn't want to be there. I mean, But now you should be able to say, all right, you have your pick, you have your choice. Who do you want to go with? And by the way, it might not be where you want to go because you might end up only being able to go to like Charlotte or something like that at this point. So
It might not be a terrible place.
no, and it really might not be.
Up and coming team.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the thing of if he wants to still be the old James Harden, you're limited on your options. You're not going to be the shooting guy. You're not going to be the scoring guy. He's clearly going to be the playmaker, be the passing guy. So find the place that fits you best. And there's multiple places out there, but now with the draft kind of coming before, now you're going to have to try and seek it out. Unless he really thinks Philly's going to offer him a new deal. Like unless he's thinking on that level of Philly gives me a new contract, they don't pay me as much, so now they can spend more. But I don't think James. I think James Harden's a smart man, but I don't think he's thinking on the level like Tom Brady is. Well, if I take a pay cut, they can afford to bring in a big man to help out.
He may be smart,
Joel Embiid.
But if anything, from him forcing his way out of teams because I'm not happy, boo-hoo, wah, you're selfish. You're a selfish person. You're a selfish player.
Right.
So I don't see why he would do any of those things other than to benefit himself.
Yeah.
Or and I don't know that he can be all that smart if he's opting out of $47 million because he is trying to help himself make more money.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know about that. I don't know about this guy.
I mean, look, it's merely a suggestion. I think he's just ring chasing at this point. I think he's just trying to go. He's going to try and go from spot to spot, kind of like Carmelo, right? Melo's kind of going from spot to spot, place to place, trying to find the best ring place, right? At least that's what it feels like. So I think James Harden might be doing the same thing because he's 33, 34, right? He's not a young pup anymore. So I think at this point he realizes like, yeah, I only got a few more years left doing this and then I'm done. So I think he wants that ring now more than ever. But we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, it's a lot of money to leave on the table, that's for sure. Again, must be really nice. But we do have a little bit of big breaking news that did just come about about less than an hour ago. DeJounte Murray. That's right. The guard for the San Antonio Spurs, their all-star, has officially been traded to the Atlanta Hawks. The entire package deal included Danilo Gallinari, the forward from the Hawks, as well as their 2023 first-round pick from Charlotte, their 2025 first-round pick, and their 2027 first-round pick, both of which are unprotected, as well as a 2026 first-round pick swap with the Atlanta Hawks for the San Antonio Spurs. So a lot to give up for just what it appears to just be DeJounte Murray, a very good player by many of our standards. Obviously, he's an all-star. But just had, I think it was his best season so far of his career, I would dare to say.
I believe so as well.
But Drew, I mean, it's a lot for the Atlanta Hawks to give up, but considering that they didn't have to give up John Collins or their big man, Clint Capella, they still have those guys on their roster. I mean, is DeJounte Murray, you think, enough now that Atlanta's looking like that team that made that playoff run potentially, even maybe better?
I don't know if it's enough. It's a really nice piece to add to what they had.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to see this team take that next step.
Right.
Okay. They took a step and got in the playoffs 2 years ago, and then last year, I believe they didn't even make the playoffs.
No, yeah,
they weren't even in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that they took a step back.
Right.
I understand they dealt with injuries. John Collins didn't play a lot of last season.
Mm-hmm.
No excuses.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be that team. Yes, you traded a lot to get this guy, and it's in the way of picks, not the talent that you have. So that tells me that they're in a go-for-it-now mode, and they want to win now. Okay? He's going to be a nice piece to add to that, but can everyone else, role players and all of that, your starting five may be excellent, but as far as your bench and the guys that come in to give your starting five a rest, can they do enough? Can they be enough throughout a full season and into the playoffs to keep them in games, to keep them in series?
Yeah.
And time will tell.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It feels like a move to definitely make sure that Trae Young stays happy. That's kind of one of my always go-to things, especially with these teams that are just right there on the cusp of making the playoffs. They've got a star player. Like, what's the main thing, right? You always want to keep your superstar happy. And clearly, Trae Young is a superstar. He deserves to be noted as one. He's a great, great player. So you got to give him a complimentary piece. Well, what's a good complimentary piece? Give him a number, that other guy, that number 2 guy that he can rely upon. This is very much like a Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum feel, right? Where you've got another guard who can kind of play back there as a great backcourt. I mean, that what I would say right now is like a top 5, at least top 10 backcourt right now for DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. That's 3-pointers. That's the ability to drive the basket. Murray gives you really good defense on the perimeter, so I think it's a smart move. It's a lot, though, for Atlanta to give up. Like, you talk about what they could be using to build that team with. That's a lot, but I think they're looking at it saying, well, Trae Young's not going to probably stick around much longer if we don't start winning. Like you said, they made the playoffs 2 years ago, and then last year they completely missed out. So they got to win. They want to win right now. There's still that talk that they could move on from John Collins. Clint Capella is still a bit of a question mark. I don't know if he's necessarily going to get moved, but he's a guy that I know has been in some talks with teams. But with this move, I mean, I look at it and I say, I don't know if they're going to move all these pieces now. But Drew, I ask you this, though. For the San Antonio side, I mean, obviously it's a haul, and it's a haul that they get, and they get a guy like Gallinari who feels like a pop kind of player. But in your eyes, for what we're seeing from San Antonio, I mean, with what they kind of did in the draft and then what they've kind of gotten from this deal, do you see this as being the chance that the San Antonio Spurs make to kind of start their rebuild essentially and kind of begin the era that now no longer includes the infamous coach?
I think they already started their rebuild.
Okay.
What did they have, 2 or 3 first-round picks?
Yes, yeah.
So they had a lot. That right there tells you that they're in that process because you don't have a team doesn't have 3 first-round picks if they're not trying to rebuild their team.
Right.
Unless you are working some magic out there and things completely fell your way.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. So with them having 2 or 3 this year, now they're going to have 3 or more than that next year, their own plus Atlanta's.
Right.
Yeah, they're in full rebuild mode, trying to bring as much young talent as they can in, which DeJounte Murray was a part of that.
Right.
He's a young player. He's a young talent, up-and-coming talent who has gotten better and better as his career has gone on. Short career has gone on.
Right, yes.
So he's continuing to grow as a player as well. Would be nice for them, but I think they're not at the point where he's doing a lot for them, but not to where they need it. And if they got a haul for him.
Yeah.
So they're just going that route of we're gonna get as many of these guys coming up as we can and see what we can build with brand new young players coming in.
Right. Yeah. By the way, for those who are wondering, yes, last year was his best year. 21 points. Not 8 rebounds, which is a lot for the guy. 9 assists. I mean, he really earned that all-star for sure. And then not only that, he shot 46% from the field. Not the best from 3, 32%, but he really is kind of a drive the ball to the basket, get on defense kind of guy. He's really solid with that ability to be able to kind of play. I mean, 2 steals a game last year. One of the top guys in the league.
That's why he'll make a good fit with Trae.
Right.
Because Trae does that 3-point shooting from wherever on the court. And he can easily, while being guarded, getting a double in the backcourt.
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray's cutting to the basket, which what he does best. And Trae can pass quite well.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to have a lead to a lot of open looks for Murray.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're telling me then that John Collins and Clint Capella are staying and they stay healthy, this team, with, by the way, Nate McMillan, who has proven to be a guy who help them out figuring things out defensively. I mean, you didn't give up which is impressive. They didn't have to give up like DeAndre Hunter or any other young pieces. They kept a lot of that like bench core that's still very young and yet helps out in a lot of ways coming off and giving those important minutes and playing defense. They're still there, which is, it just shocks me. Like, you didn't have to move. It only cost them Gallinari, who's a good player, don't get me wrong. But I haven't viewed him as like being an impact player since he was in Denver, I would say.
Right.
Like, that was a long time ago. So but good on. I would say at this point, I think both sides kind of win in this one. I would say, though, I think the Hawks kind of inch this out just simply because this obviously means more of a playoff run for them. But the Spurs always do right in the draft. I think they did well with this year's draft. So I guess we'll kind of wait and see what happens with this. I'm excited to see, though, where they go from here for sure. And listen, this is just the beginning, right? Free agency is going to be opening up pretty soon. Obviously,
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow is the day. So, which is why all of this news is going to happen. So be aware. If anything else does happen, if breaking news does come out, we will talk about that. But coming up next here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be discussing the Bulls at length because they had a draft pick. They used it. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about what they do in free agency. Coming up next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
All right, can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. This is still the handsome man, Mr. Drew.
Big money.
Big money, yes. God,
We got big money coming.
We got big money
Well, we
coming.
don't.
Folks. Well, no. Well, maybe we do. We'll. There are things in the works, folks. Let's just leave it at that. But Drew, you are already wearing the wonderful hat, and you're even wearing the shirt to match with it. I mean, no logo, of course, but I'm definitely seeing red for sure.
Yeah.
Are you seeing red at all, my friend?
Yeah.
Well, then
Typically.
I think we definitely
One reason or the other.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I think it's time we get to this subject, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, folks. The Chicago Bulls, they were in the draft, did not make it. By the way, I don't know if we'll get to the Hulk of the draft. I just want to say kind of a quiet draft, really, for the most part.
You know what? For me, it was hard to figure out when these trades were happening. They didn't do a very good job.
Yeah.
Woj, I don't think, did a very good job, or anybody, of what these trades were, when they were coming, announcing them as they happened, and explaining them well enough. Because I even saw some athletes tweet, like, what's going on? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think they could have done a little better with that, with the explanation of it and announcing them as they come along to make it more exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. It felt. I understand they had a whole new crew up there talking about the draft with Jay Billis, and I forgot her name. I apologize, but she was the first female to ever.
Is that Malika Andrews?
Maybe. I think what was her name?
So.
I believe you might be right. I'm missing on her name. I thought she did a decent job, but I definitely feel like between her and Kendrick Perkins, there were times where it kind of got a little bit lost in the mix, and Jay Billis kind of felt like he was a little bit out, and then we go to Woj. And Woj was just kind of like stuck in the corner. I feel like Woj should be on the main stage with them, or the main table with them, talking about what's happening. Because obviously he has inside things, but I know he's on his phone quite a bit. So, but obviously Woj did, as he does, tweet out for the Bulls. There was some discussion, I guess, that was happening, but ultimately the Bulls did have a pick. They used it. And with the 18th pick, please help us welcome Mr. Dalen Terry from Arizona to the Chicago Bulls, because that's the guy that we all knew that the Bulls were going to take at 18, right, Drew? I mean, didn't you just know that he was the guy? So
Dalen Terry, welcome.
And that's about as close as it gets here.
Yep.
Well, I mean, listen, I know there's not too much we know about this because obviously he was Not a guy that was being projected to the Bulls at all. But
Hey, they found their guy and they got him.
absolutely. But that's what I want to ask you about. What is your thoughts and your feelings about Dalen Terry being picked by the Bulls? I mean, just
Cool.
initial feelings and thoughts about it.
My initial thought was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I trust AK, so I'm glad they got this guy I've never heard of.
Yeah.
That was basically my reaction. Like, oh, okay.
Right. Pretty basic.
Nothing happened. There wasn't any trade of moving out of 18 like we may have thought and we heard. They keep things pretty quiet, seems like. So
Yeah.
very unsure what they're gonna do. I don't think anybody really saw this one coming.
No.
No one really knew. But
No.
you know what? In AKA, I trust with what they've been able to do with the team, what they've done with the team, what they continue to do with the team.
Yeah.
So until he doesn't work out, I gotta give him the benefit of the doubt and the credit and say like they found a guy that's going to be an impact player for this team.
Yeah, I will. I've described him on the lower third. I said fits like a basketball player because I don't know if he's going to fit like a glove. I mean, there's not a lot I really knew about him. Obviously, when he got drafted, a lot of the story and a lot of the news started to break out about him. I guess he worked out with the Bulls, and immediately upon working out, I guess he called his agent. And he's like, I want to be here. Like, this is the place I want to be at. And, like, it's the Bulls felt the same way. Like, we need to bring this guy in. So if you're – I would have to say, like, for this management, because obviously they have done a lot of things right considering how the turnaround has been. If you're that much infatuated with a player, I would have to think that's the guy you go with, right? If you have this such a connection where he's like, he loves us, we love him, why don't we make this thing – like, listen, it's like – isn't that the best relationship where you both love each other?
He's a piece that we need.
Yeah.
He's going to be a 3-and-D guy off the bench. Okay.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of that's like, okay, even me, I think in my head, I think, okay, 3-and-D guy off the bench, and that's your first round pick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, unless you're up in that lottery, you have to get lucky to find a guy that's going to end up being a starter for your team.
Right. I mean,
at that point in the draft.
Right.
Even you have to get lucky to find a starter for your team in the lottery.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out that way. We've seen it time and time again. This guy may end up being a stud.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
Absolutely.
You look at players like Giannis. You look at players all over the place that were taking Nikola Jokic, drafted by this same GM. He's been able to find talent in later on in drafts and in later rounds, and they pan out.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm still being patient with. This is his second draft. Be patient with what he's doing and the players he's bringing in, and then with that patience comes you hear more talk about moves and directions they're trying to go with filling big men roles, and you're like, yes, now we're talking. Okay, that's where that patience you're rewarded for it.
Absolutely.
Because at least for me, this is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Seeing the names that they're going after for big men to get help with Vooch, defensively, offensively, in other ways. That's what I like to hear.
Right.
We'll get to it.
Absolutely.
But those are the things that I like to hear, and it makes me feel good that I am giving them the benefit of the doubt and this patience because they're doing the things that I'd like to see happen with this basketball team.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, listen, how long did we give John Paxson and Gar Forman the benefit of the doubt?
Far too long.
We gave them.
I didn't.
We gave them so much rope that at some point they hung all of us. Like
after a handful of years, they and only getting Jimmy Butler out of it, really, they lost that real quick.
Shall we not forget the Tony Snells?
Tony Snell had turned out to be a pretty decent player for other teams elsewhere. So
yeah, but I mean, with us, for some reason, we just never could find the fit for it. Well, and also,
maybe part of that's all the crap coaching they brought in as well.
Yeah, there's that too for sure. Let's not go down that road, shall we? Let's focus on the road at hand.
The future, not the past.
Exactly, and the future for this kid. Listen, he's got some really, he was a decent starter. Obviously, this is a guy who gets a lot of boasting for his defense, right? He only scored like 8 points a game. Really good on the rebounds. Really good passer. Phenomenal perimeter defense. Small forward shooting guard kind of guy, 6'7", 195. A little skinny. The versatility, though, here is the guy can apparently defend at the point guard and the power forward spot because he does have.
I heard 1 through 3.
Yeah.
I heard they expect him to be able to guard 1 through 3.
They want him to kind of handle that whole side, but I guess because of the 7'2" wingspan he has, I guess he can also work against a 4 if he needs to. Obviously, put on a little bit more weight is the deal, but you're talking 6'7" at 19 years old, 195. So, again, I look at the guys and the doctors, whatever, that do that whole, well, when he's fully grown, apparently he's supposed to be like, I guess, 6'9". They're projecting possibly 220. So you're talking about a guy that, when fully grown, 6'8", 6'9". If you're saying that, hell yes, like, let's do this. Like, and he plays guard and forward, absolutely. And this is the guy, like you said, you kind of need this guy, right? Because who's your wingman right now at that 3 position? It's DeMar DeRozan. Well, who's after him? Well, right now it's Jones. And I like Jones a lot, but Jones is known more for his offense and dunking ability, not really his defense.
Right.
This is a guy that gives you versatility to be able to move into the guard and the wing, be able to be that defender on the perimeter, be able to take. Now, he only took like 1 3-point shot a game, but, to me that says, all right, he takes the smart 3-point shot. He doesn't try to force it 1,000 times. I'll take that any day. I'll take the smart shooter over the guy that's just trying to chuck it 1,000,000 times and has like a 25% from 3. Like, that's not an efficient player.
To me, I think they brought him in. They wanted him for his defense.
Yeah.
And whatever he can give you, if he can develop a better 3-point shot and continue that and be a guy that can hit shots like that, not on a consistent basis, but be a guy that drains the few a game that you need to help elevate your team.
Absolutely. Well, and this guy also, too, from what I understand, he's got a high motor.
Yeah.
He's super active on both sides of the ball. And look, let's not sugarcoat it. DeMar DeRozan is 33 years old. He still moves great for his age. He's clearly been working out, which right now he and P. Willie are working out like crazy for him.
I watched the video. P. Willie was making some moves. I was like, wow, that looks just like DeMar.
According to DeMar, he's getting aggressive. He's pushing for the basket.
He better.
He might have grown an inch or two.
At the same time, everybody can be aggressive when you were playing against the basket.
Right.
It's just you in the basket. Anybody can be aggressive.
I mean, we can talk about my favorite of all time, but let's not go down that road, shall we? But it sounds good. Sounds good. So we'll see what happens when he gets into camp and everything. But I like it. But I think adding this guy, and I think too, again, he's 19. He's young, right? P. Willie's now 21. You're building a young core coming off the bench with Io, by the way, who you're paying nothing to right now. Obviously, that may change. You may want to give him the extension early. We'll see. But either way, you have a young core coming off the bench with Caruso kind of leading the charge. Depends on who else they can add at this point, but they added another piece I want to talk about here too, because this was, I think, the diamond in the rough.
Don't talk about Tony Bradley.
No, yeah, not Tony.
That's one I could have done.
No,
whatever.
I forgot he had a player option. I completely forgot he was on the team for a while there. But that's their undrafted free agent that they brought in. Unfortunately, not Kofi Cockburn. He did sign with the Jazz. But they did bring in a guy that I think is still going to be a pretty solid player for him, in Justin Lewis from Marquette, who I completely forgot about, to be quite honest. If you forget, Marquette actually had a good season, and he really led the charge. You're talking 6'7", guy's 235. I mean, he was a 2-year player there. In the time he played there, he scored in double digits, 16 points a game last year, almost 17. Almost 8 rebounds. I mean, a really good steal, by the way. He's really good on the perimeter and post defense. He's a well-rounded player for the 3 and the 4 position that gives him a little bit more depth. Obviously, we'll see how he progresses. But, Drew, an interesting add-on for a guy that was supposed to go in the second round, fell out into the undrafted free agent market. I mean, what do you think about seeing the numbers and kind of hearing about him? He's kind of considered to be like the stolen gem of the undrafted free agents. What do you think about the Bulls getting that guy?
I mean, if that's the guy he ends up being, then that's excellent to get an undrafted free agent in that spot. This is what you want out of your undrafted free agent class, the players that you bring in. This guy should have been drafted in the second round, but didn't for, I don't know, whatever reason.
Right.
As long as it's not anything over the top, those are the guys you want to bring in because, I mean, if they're supposed to be drafted, well, one, you want to know why not.
Right.
But at the same time, they had that potential, or they had the look of that kind of a player at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they're still that guy.
Right.
I don't know much about this player, but if some teams were considering him in the draft, then that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Find those guys, bring them in. It's an area of need. And see what they can give you. Again, you never know what you're going to get out of these guys, especially from a guy that, hey, everyone's saying you should have been drafted in the second round, and now you're undrafted. That might give them that next kick in the butt to elevate them, help elevate themselves.
Yeah.
This is where, yes, you're on a team, but you need to bust your ass yourself. You need to be the one that makes this team not allow you to leave.
Right.
Don't let them don't give them a reason to let you walk out of that door.
Yeah.
And this could be that motivation that helps that.
Absolutely. Yeah. For just a little bit of a note for everybody out there. This is what he did first year. 7.8 points, 5.4 rebounds, 0.4 steals, 0.7 blocks. Shot 41% from the field, shot 21% from the three. An improvement to 16.8 points, 7.9 rebounds, 1.1 steals, 1.6 blocks, 44% from the field, 34.9% from three. So if you can see those numbers right there, folks, you see that there's a gradual growth in his game, which is exactly the kind of thing you want to see from a player. You know what that says? He works. Like you said, Drew, you come in here and you work. Well, this kid worked. Because you don't go from 7.8 to almost 17 points a game if you're not putting in time in the gym. So this guy apparently, I would, from everything I heard, it says guy lives in the gym, guy wants to improve, wants to get better, and you give him this thing of saying you're an undrafted free agent. According to him, I guess in an article, he said, it just feeds my hunger even more. And also, too, he says he's a fan of the Chicago Bulls, which helps a lot. When you're a fan of the team, you want to play for them.
Isn't it crazy how when you change the culture of your team, this is what you get?
Yes.
They're gathering players up that are like this for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because the hardest workers in the gym year after year after year, the ones who stay there and work at their craft and bust their ass at what they do, that's how they get better.
Yep.
That's how your team gets better.
Yep.
That's how you build a winning championship team and culture.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're bringing in now. You see it.
It's such a delight to see, to be honest. And it's, you know what, and here's the thing too, I've noticed this is the first draft outside of when Patrick Williams got drafted too, where all the guys are saying, like, I really wanted to go to Chicago. Like, I was really kind of hoping to be that player, that guy. I want to be a part of this team. Hearing that kind of helps it too. They don't have to like being there, but it helps out a lot if you can like being there at the same time. Hearing Dalen Terry's like, I want to be here. I'm excited to be here. Justin Lewis, I was a fan of the Bulls. I want to be a part of that. Patrick Williams said, I hoped Chicago would pick me when we did our workout. I'm happy that we were able to make it happen. I'm happy to be here. Hearing that says that these guys want to be here, which means they will work to stay here. And like you said, that
shows
helps.
how happy you are.
Exactly. And that's because, like you said, the culture has changed.
Yes.
All thanks to in the name of Karnisovas, Eversley, and the Holy Donovan, folks.
Oh, Billy.
I'm excited to see this team because there's more that we got to talk about with this team going forward, obviously.
Ooh, one
Yes.
of your favorite songs that Andrew loves to hear about everybody. We may be able to get a lot of that going soon.
Absolutely, because my goodness, the NBA free agency again. It opens up tomorrow. It's
two names.
Oh, baby.
And I think there might only get one, if any.
There's another name they've added to this list that I'm a little bit intrigued by.
I'm talking big men.
Oh yeah,
I'm just in the list of big men.
Absolutely.
It's two out there that I'd like to see come, but I think they're probably only going to be able to get one.
They seem to be taking aim at one. Right now, on top of their list, not in any particular order, but it seems like on top of their list right now happens to be Mo Bamba. Probably
That's
being
the man with the song.
Absolutely. Mitchell Robinson.
I like that. Those are the two.
And then another one that has intrigued me a little bit because I've started to hear his name coming from the Clippers. I did not know him all too well. It is Isaiah Hardenstein. Didn't know much about him. Watched his highlight. Intrigued by him. Right now, those are kind of the three names that are out there for the Bulls kind of taking an aim right now because it sounds like Ayton may not actually sign with the Phoenix Suns now at this point. He may actually be exiting stage right for them. I don't know what's going on with the Rudy Gobert situation. I don't know what's going on with the Jazz, in fact, at this point. And honestly, I don't really care about Rudy Gobert anymore at this point. I'm kind of glad they're not making that move.
Me too. It wasn't one that I wanted to bring in, and after the draft happened, it seemed like those rumors and talks completely shut down.
Absolutely. But real quick for Isaiah Hardenstein, so he was kind of the backup center For I forget his name now, Zurich or whatever it is. Zubak, yes.
Ian Zubak.
Zubak. So this is what he averaged last year. He had 8.3 points, 4.9 rebounds. Obviously not the highest on the rebounds. Did shoot 62% from the field. Actually shot 46% from three. He is 7 feet, 250 pounds, 24 years old. He was a second-round draft pick by the Clippers. And as of last year, he also averaged a block a game and also had just under a steal a game as well. So,
Did you say how many minutes?
For the minutes, he only played 17 minutes a game.
Okay.
That was last year. And by the way, that was coming from Denver going to the Clippers, where he added on minutes. So at 17 minutes a game is where he at. So, but Drew, out of those guys, with now whatever I described with Hardenstein, Bamba, Robinson, obviously, what are the guys that you are liking? What do you think about Hardenstein? Do you think he's a guy the Bulls should take an aim at? Is there any other name we didn't mention that you might want to see the Bulls take a run at for big men? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I don't want them to go after, this guy might be a good piece for us. That's draft stuff.
Right,
okay?
yes.
If you're going in free agency, to me, I want a guy that's going to come in and immediately is going to come in and fill whatever role we're looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big roles that we need is a defensive presence down low.
Yes.
At the center position
Mhm.
and in the post. Because Vooch can't do it.
Right.
We've seen that.
It's
Can't
been
do it.
proven.
Okay? Getting a guy like Mitchell Robinson or a guy like Mo Bamba there, which Mo Bamba can put some points on the board as well.
Yes, he can.
Which is also a positive
Yeah.
thing. He has improved his game year after year. Again, something else you want to see. Mitchell Robinson looked like he is growing into being a nice piece down low.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just for the price that you're going to have to pay these guys, which isn't a ton.
No.
And
No, it's
you
not.
and you know what you're getting from them, and they're coming in, they're filling that role that you need immediately. Those are the guys that I would love to see them go after, and I really, really hope that they come out with one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, our guy King B Max said also the Bulls have registered interest in John Collins, which, again, that's not he's not really a center, but that's a nice piece to have. I think it at least allows Patrick Williams to develop a little bit more, giving you a strong four that can score, whose defense is kind of so-so, but he can give you 10-plus rebounds. He can give you 18, 20 points. Sometimes even more if you really let him loose. So
And he can get up for some blocks too.
he can.
He
So
can jump out of the gym.
Absolutely. And he's 24 years old, so it's all about, though, what are you giving up for him, obviously.
Yes,
That's
right
the thing.
price.
Right, of course. Look, I would love Mo Bamba. I mean, look, he shot 38% from three. That's not even important, though. It's the rebounds and the block shots and the points inside that he really gives. I mean, per his 36 minutes, I mean, you're talking about a guy 15 points a game, 11 rebounds, about 2.5 blocks a game. Again, that's per 36 minutes. So yeah, take it for what you will. But at the same time, this is a defensive specialist down low. I'm not opposed to the Hardenstein move. I just think that if you want to add him, make him the backup then to Mo Bamba, because I think he could be a good scoring option. He clearly then has upped his defensive game. Giving him a few more minutes, you might be able to get more rebounds out of him. But you're also it's taking a gamble on a guy that's obviously very young and still not proven yet. Now, could he be proven? Of course he could. But at this point now for the Bulls, you want to probably make more aims at surefire things if you want to win right now, instead of like, well, let's roll the dice and see what happens. Unless Connor Silvas knows his guy.
I'm fine with that move
Right.
and having him be bringing him in
Right.
along with Mo Bamba and
Yes.
Mitchell Robinson. But then Tony Bradley's got to go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that 100% has to happen.
So
Has to happen.
I don't know why. I get it. You pick up the option, bring him back in until you know that he's not going to be here.
Right.
So I get that part of it, but
Mhm.
he's not.
No.
He's not. I don't think he's a very good player at all.
I thought Tony Bradley was a much better player than what
So
he
did
clearly.
I.
We all
He
thought
was-
like defensive specialist, shot blocker. That's what he was at Utah.
He
and
looked scared.
He did.
He looked scared most of the time he got on the court.
Which is shocking considering he's a pretty big guy for
Mhm.
his and long guy for his ability and everything. Like, I don't know what it was like. Maybe it is because he kind of felt like probably by himself. I don't know. Maybe he's like, I've got nobody to support me. Where I guess, in Utah, you've got Rudy either next to you or like in back of you to kind of like support you. So I can see where that could be. I think the Hardenstein thing is also he was in Denver with Karnisovas beforehand. You know this guy, you know this player, you know what he can bring. If that's the case, if you really look, we have both said we trust in this management.
Yeah.
If you think he is the right move, make it the right move. If he's not going to cost a lot either, that's the other thing too with this, right?
Right.
Because the two big questions right now kind of sitting on the Bulls' shoulders are how much is this thing going to cost, because there's contracts that you'd probably like to see get moved, and then obviously the overlooming notion of obviously what Zach LaVine wants, which is projected to be, I think we've heard now, is going to be a 5-year, $212 million deal in the first couple seconds of free agency popping open tomorrow. So probably by tomorrow morning, we will know what the deal is. But Drew, I mean, do you think that there are a bunch of guys that could obviously move off to try and get some money loosened up, but can they possibly do that? Can they make any moves to get these guys out of there? Do you see that possibly happening? And then does that even matter after Zach LaVine signs this massive deal? You know, what are your thoughts with that?
Not every team, but although a lot of teams are able to make these things work with their max contract guys,
Right.
and the Bulls are only going to have one of them.
Right.
Okay. So yes, they're paying other players a lot of money, but you know what? That's the name of the game. You pay your top players the top of the line money, and you fill in with role players around them.
Absolutely.
And solid starters and players that can do what you need to do well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had a bunch of guys that they brought in last year on 1-year deals. Along with Tony Bradley, even though they picked up his option,
Right.
he's still able to be moved out.
Yeah.
Okay. So that doesn't lock him into the Bulls for next season. So yeah, there's guys on 1-year deals that aren't going to be around,
Right.
and they are going to have to find other ways to make that work. And I think getting a young guy in the draft to fill one of those roles in the backcourt or the 3 position, filling for DeMar, and then we had an abundance of guards and shooters and that weren't very well.
Right.
But we need to bring in more shooters that can knock down threes, not knock down wide open threes.
Right.
That was another thing that the Bulls had issues with.
Yeah.
But you see them kind of working things, shifting some things around, and that's going to continue to happen to kind of fill their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Where backcourt was their strength last year, aside from making a bunch of threes.
Yeah.
So they're just making the adjustments what they see. You know what we say. Sports teams are all about making adjustments and how you go forward from what you had to what you're going to be.
Absolutely.
So that's what I see them doing now, is making those adjustments to fill the void that was left from last season.
Yeah, I'm in the same. I mean, listen, Derek Jones Jr., Troy Brown Jr., Matt Thomas are 3 guys right off the bat with Tony Bradley that I think you can clear out. And I think they said that, plus I think there was a few other players thrown in the mix. You can clear like $19.5 million in cap space then, which would be great. But then again, like Zach LaVine signs the $30 million a year contract, and I believe they said that the move of the cap possibly will be 123, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is where they're aiming for the salary cap this year. So it gives you a little bit more leeway. But again, signing Zach LaVine to that giant deal, you listen, whether it's him or somebody else, you're going to be giving somebody a giant contract. I would say if 5 years, $200 million a year stretches out the money, I think, just enough that you can make it work. Obviously, look, their highest paid players other than that are DeMar DeRozan, who's making $27.5 million a year, and then you have Vooch, who's making $22 million a year. And Vooch has said he wants a new contract, which I don't know if the Bulls should give it to him, but I will say this: renegotiating contracts sometimes can free up the money.
Right.
And he is an older player, so you can make it a thing where it's like, listen, we'll give you years, we'll give you more money, but we'll backload the contract so we can pay you less now to afford Zach, plus afford these other players we want to bring in. And then when it comes to the end of your contract, then we'll discuss if it's worth it. Or he could be retired by that point or traded.
That's where I was going to go. He's still on your team as an asset you can use at another point at another time.
Exactly.
Maybe you get Mo Bamba and the guy from the Clippers
Yeah.
in, and this dude plays out of his mind,
Right.
and he's like, oh, this guy's well enough to easily be the number 2,
Yeah.
but is potentially pushing to be a starter.
Yeah.
While Mo Bamba can play starters minutes.
Right.
So now you have these two guys, and that just made Vooch expendable.
Yeah.
And you can maybe go get something nice for him that you can add a younger piece or a pick to use going forward.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
It's about building up assets for your team and then using them at the right time and the right place to help your team.
Absolutely. I mean, and listen, obviously, yes, was the interest there for Vooch this year as much as people thought there would be? Maybe not, but it doesn't mean that teams are turning him away. There are teams that obviously did consider putting him in the trade. It was always, though, well, we also want the young asset of Patrick Williams with him.
Right.
Or, or instead, in some cases like Utah, they didn't really want Vooch. They wanted Williams instead. Well, that's not going to happen. The Bulls love Williams, and Williams wants to stay, so
everybody wants the younger player
Of course.
that can potentially be a franchise player.
Of course they do. I mean, listen, that's why. But like Orlando loves that. That's why they're always number 1 in the draft, like every year.
Yeah.
They just love being that team that's like, we're gonna just take all the number 1s. They think the process worked for Philly. They don't realize that the process actually failed. So, sooner you realize it, the better off you are. But at this point, I think the smart move would be sign Levine. I think extend Vooch. I know what that sounds like, but just so you can backload the contract, give him less money up front now, because I think even he understands that he's 32 years old. How much longer do you have? You've been the star guy in Orlando for how long? You have a chance now to go to the playoffs, maybe be a championship team. You were number 1 in the East for so many weeks. You had a chance to be the number 1 team. You might have been the team there instead of Boston in the finals.
And bringing a top of the line like 1A, 1B, like another center in here who can be the 1B guy, and he's not necessarily a backup center. You could interchange these players enough to where if it is Mo Bamba, he could start one night if needed to be. And then when you bring them in, Vooch doesn't necessarily have to play as many minutes and doesn't have to be worn out like he is. Maybe a lot more of those threes start going down, start dropping.
Absolutely.
And then you're seeing that again. And then Vooch's stock gets built back up because he's not having to try and do as much and trying to do things that he's not good at, like play defense and be in that pick and roll where he gets trapped at the top every time. And there's a wide open lane for somebody to just roll right in and dunk the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I would say right now, if I had that plan, again, extend him, backload the contract. I would say Mo Bamba, and probably because it does sound like the Knicks, because of what I think is the most ridiculous trade they ever made of trading Jalen Duren away when they had him. I think they're going to probably try to get back Mitchell Robinson because I think they see how key he is to their team, unfortunately. And also, too, I think between him and Mo Bamba, there'll be similar expenditures. If you're asking me which over the other, I think Mo Bamba, just because you get a guy who's a little bit more flexible, younger, not by much, but I mean, either way, you're getting a guy. Mo Bamba adds a little bit more point total to his name, I think, at this point, And again, the other thing too is he hasn't had like too many major injuries from what I can remember in the last couple of years. So
right.
Either way, I would still I would get either or, but I think Mo Bamba. I do like this guy Hardenstein because I think he is kind of a similar player, maybe even to Vooch, like you said. If he develops, maybe that's a chance to move out Vooch. If not, you're giving Vooch a break. I think it's something. You're saying we still have that Vooch guy on the team we can put at the 4, but we're giving him a chance to take a breather because he's in his 30s. Get the young kid out there, see what he can do. He can clearly block shots, get some rebounds, give him more minutes. Let's see what he can do. But either way, I think the Bulls can go. And I didn't mention this, but obviously there's some forwards that are in their talk as well. The two I've heard so much are Jalen Smith, who was a top 10 pick by the Phoenix Suns, and Nick Claxton, who sounds like he's not going to sign with the Brooklyn Nets at this point. Our man B-Mac kind of brought that up too, that they were potentially going to move off from him, which I like. I think both of those guys could add defense. They add length. They give you points. I think that stuff, they're not starters, but they come off the bench really nice pieces.
I remember seeing Claxton was pretty bad at the free throw line.
He was pretty bad. He's a pretty bad free throw guy. And I'm not asking him to be at the free throw, though. I'm asking.
Hopefully.
Yes, right. I'm asking him to get rebounds, play defense, score some points inside.
Saw some of his game.
Yeah. And let's be honest, the Bulls did have one of the best free throw shooting teams last year.
They did.
So who's to say that they couldn't teach him, you know?
Right.
So there's promise there. And Jalen Smith, you don't know, 10th pick, was supposed to be a guy that like paired up with Ayton, didn't really work. He's been off the bench. The long piece, just kind of like Claxton, 6'10", 215, really good rebounder, block shots. It's like 10 points a game almost, I think, at one point. So
again, guys that may need a change of scenery, more opportunity to help them develop into that guy that they may have been supposed to be,
right,
or the guy that they still can potentially be.
Right, you're giving them a chance to still prove themselves.
Right,
and that's all these guys really,
and you know
really want.
And those guys are cheap.
Exactly.
They don't cost a lot of money.
That is the plus side of this, too, is that they can fit within the salary cap amount. Plus, let's remember, you can pay into the luxury tax if you want. You do have that option to pay into the luxury. Obviously, teams don't like doing that.
I don't think Jerry likes doing that.
Jerry may be the money, but it's his son that's doing the work right now, and you're doing a great job.
But I'm not going to let it happen.
Yeah, I know, yeah, right. Our boy King B-Mac also adding, he says, only way I think they should extend Vooch is if they bring in a Mo Bamba or Nick Claxton, and he bridges the gap till they're ready to start full time. It's a good point. Potentially they could not maybe be full time starters right off the bat. He said otherwise you can let them go next offseason, and we can take a run at Christian Wood, Miles Turner, and Steven Adams are free agents next year. That's true. That is very true. That those guys are also.
I see Dallas locking up Christian Wood.
Yeah,
after the trade they made for him, I don't see them letting him go.
It's a lot of pieces to go for a guy that you're kind of be like, well, we'll just let him go next year.
Yeah.
So, unless he does terrible or he gets hurt with a significant injury, I don't think
his attitude's really too much.
Right, exactly. Everything I hear about this guy is like he's like the ultimate team player. It's great. That could have been. We could have used that. I'm just saying for the Bulls. I'm just saying, but. Nevertheless, I still feel confident with this group. They feel like they know what they're doing. I don't know about Steven Adams. Miles Turner's attitude is like up and down all the time. Steven Adams is a tough guy, but he's getting older. I don't know how much longer his body's going to maintain this kind of down low presence and stuff. And again, too, he's another guy. Attitudes can change at times and at will. So
see, Steven Adams for me, that's a nice leadership piece.
Yes,
a nice veteran piece you add to a contender to. Maybe help with the younger guys, be a guy that is there for the leadership role.
Right.
And he does some nice things still. He's a beast down low.
He does. It's
an option. It's not. I don't see him being an option for the Bulls, but
right.
I see him being an option for. Where was he? He was in Memphis, wasn't he?
Yes, he was in Memphis.
Stay there. Wherever the hell would you want to go anywhere else?
I was going to say, I wouldn't leave Memphis right
hell
now.
No.
So, I mean, but Memphis got better. Memphis got a lot better because they're just like, oh, the young talent worked out for us with John Morant and stuff, so let's just stack on more because that's a thing you can do now, apparently. But, yeah, we go farther into the draft, but obviously, I mean, we've spent so much time now talking about it. For what it was, I mean, I'll say this really quickly. The draft, like we said, it could have been a little bit more interesting. Obviously, more explanation would have been nice about what was happening. Maybe a little bit more, too, about where these guys came from and stuff. I do want to say, too, though, I'm glad to see that a lot of these guys had international experience, and these guys are getting those opportunities. It's nice to see how many guys are coming over from, like, South America and France and stuff, coming here into America, going to these academies, and they're getting drafted in the first round. It really changes a lot for the game. And I think a lot of that is the impact of like Giannis and guys before them coming here and having the kind of talent they are. So I will say this for the draft. I'm intrigued to see what happens with these guys. Paolo Banchero going first kind of took me a little bit by surprise. I don't know how that's going to work out with Orlando, considering you didn't even try to work him out. But shot's going to be good for OKC, I think. I know I've been bagging on them for being skinny, but they loaded the wagon. They're clearly like, yeah, we're all in on Shea Gilgeous and Josh Giddey taking us all the way. So,
hey, if anything, that whole skinny thing can be proven wrong.
Look, man, if he drops 30 and 20, who cares?
Yeah, Kevin Durant is 7 foot, and he's still skinny as can be.
Yeah, he's supposedly 250. That's the skinniest 250 I've ever seen.
Yeah, maybe soaking wet with
LeBron's supposed to be 250, and he looks thick, man.
Maybe soaking wet and with Kyrie on his back.
Well, that's going to be happening a lot, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow because, geez, it hasn't ended yet, folks. Free agency opens up tomorrow.
Can't wait. NBA free agency is usually pretty damn fun.
Oh, it goes
fast and furious, and it's always fun.
In the first 24 hours is mostly where a lot is. So tomorrow could be like a breaking news every 5 minutes thing. Like we could be sitting here, hopefully trying to talk. Tomorrow we've got a lot of things planned for the NFL and stuff like that. Some fan questions, but that's only.
We may be tossed in the NFL.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We will see.
And I don't like saying that, but NBA free agency is a different monster.
It's a lot of stuff we've already kind of covered. So, but guys, that's
we're
gonna
gonna talk about Deshaun Watson again. Don't care.
Not unless something comes from his hearing today.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't heard anything yet. So, but other than that, folks, that's gonna do it for our show. We hope you guys have really enjoyed this one. As always, the wonderful Drew Graham has been here with me, ladies and gentlemen. Drew, thank you so much, as always, for joining me, man.
Always fun.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Please let the people know where they can find you, listen to you, all that wonderful stuff.
Right here on Wednesdays and Thursdays, talking about some hot stuff, like some NBA basketball. Chicago Bulls.
Oh, you just made my stomach growl.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hungry too.
I know. Well, I just got a message, too. Apparently, I got tacos waiting at home for me.
Damn.
So,
all right.
sorry.
Well, we're going to get out of here. Okay, have a good night. We'll see you
absolutely.
later. You know where I'm at. See us there. Good night.
Drew's running out.
Andrew's got tacos.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to mention that. I just made myself hungry.
I'm going to follow him home and steal his tacos. But yeah, you can find me right here on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
Check me out on Instagram at d.gwil25 and Facebook at Drew Gwillem.
Absolutely. Guys, make sure to go check him out. Give him a follow. Give him some love and likes. Also, make sure to check him out here tomorrow. He'll be doing the hosting thing. I'll be helping him out on the sidelines as his co-host. So make sure to check him out there. But if you guys want to follow me anymore, I'm at TheFluffyGuru on Twitter. You guys can find me at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. Also, too, make sure to follow us on the Facebook as well as facebook.com/Team XBomb Sports. Drew, do we have more?
It's not really break.
Okay.
It's a breaking could happen.
Okay.
Breaking could happen.
Okay.
Lakers could target Kobe White. Rival execs believe LA may look to acquire the Bulls guard in a trade. Throwing it out there.
I'll trade you him for Anthony Davis. I think that's a fair trade. Is it not? I mean,
it's not going to happen.
I know it's not.
Okay, how about? No, never mind. I'm not even going to put it out there.
I'm
not going there now.
Okay.
We'll wait for tomorrow.
No, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to say whatever you're going to say, and then we're going to find out it's that one dude that on.
It's not.
I know it's going because it'll ultimately be that one dude.
Not for $47 million. They better be taking all that money.
I'm not saying his name.
Kobe White and a bag of peanuts.
And I'll just give him the bag of peanuts.
And they have to pay all his money.
Yeah, right. Yes, absolutely. We're not paying a fortune.
Hey, vet minimum, I'll take him.
Absolutely.
But other than that.
Hey, D Rose, come on over, man. We'll likely have you home. Whatever. Guys, you can also follow us on our YouTube as well, youtube.com/XBombSports or XBomb Sports on YouTube, sorry. Make sure like us, subscribe to us here. We guys can see our live show again, Facebook or YouTube. We're simulcasting here. Also, too, guys, make sure to hit us up on social media at XBomb Sports, at XBomb Sports on Twitter and Instagram. And if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to add to us, you guys have really been loading in the Mo Bamba videos lately because of the Mo Bamba stuff potentially happening with the Bulls. Yeah. If it does happen, hey, if they get him, I'll do a low-rent version.
You have to send us both Mo Bamba jerseys.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. We'll get a GoFundMe going. You all can put a few dollars in. At that point, we'll all have enough for me and Andrew to get Mo Bamba jerseys.
Absolutely.
And we'll sit up here and do a show with Mo Bamba playing while we dance like idiots.
We'll do it. Hunter, if they get him, we will do it.
And you send us the jerseys?
Yes.
We're game.
Chicago Bulls, make it happen. You want to see us dancing like idiots in Mo Bamba jerseys? Make it happen.
Is there a Mo Bamba dance?
I don't know if there's
a dance. We'll learn it.
I have no idea. I'll have to look that up now and try to figure that out. So
just send him the video. He'll find something.
I haven't watched the music video. You guys just keep sending me the lyrics and stuff. I get it. Mo Bamba. Yes, I like him too. Also, guys, too, the social, the podcast and everything. Blow the Whistle radio show Monday 2 to 4 p.m. TV side Tuesdays 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Unfortunately, we are going tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a loaded day with all kinds of stuff going on, so make sure to check out myself and David, and I think maybe Tyler, maybe not. We will find out as soon as the show's going on. Check out our boy Brandon Janeska at 94.3 WMKR doing his thing for Genuine Country for the radio show. Also, too, check him out at Baseball Banter with Brandon. Make sure to also check out on Spotify as well if you're checking out Baseball Banter with Brandon, which is on Spotify. Check out Money Motivation with Hannah B. You can also check her out, too, at 102.3 XLR, The Afternoon Drive. And you can also hear her at 96 The Star with our very own Eddie Volkman, doing the morning show. I'm really hungry. Also, too, check out our guys as well at the Parlay. It's our boys Tony Lopez and former Chicago Bull and professional boxer Kendall Gill. Hashtag Paul versus Gill. Hashtag Gill versus Paul. Since it sounds like Tommy Fury may not be coming into the country. So if you got another fight coming up, Jake Paul, I'm just saying.
Jake Paul, you're a bum.
Stop ducking.
Jake Paul's a bum.
Hashtag Jake Paul got no balls. So check out those boys out.
Softer than baby poo.
Check them out at theparlay.com. And, of course, if you want any more information on the Fake Football Guys for your fantasy football needs, check out the Fake Football Guys on YouTube as well. We'll be doing a show live this Wednesday, so you guys should be able to check that out. Again, it's this next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is coming up, so be sure to be on the lookout for that at the Fake Football Guys on YouTube. And that's going to do it for us here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.